We are back with our GMA cover story, the ordeal of Israeli-American parents whose son was taken hostage by Hamas. Hersh Goldberg-Polin was attending the Nova Music Festival on the morning of October 7th when Hamas attacked. He was severely injured, last seen alive in Hamas custody, heading to Gaza. We're joined now by his parents, John Polin and Rachel Goldberg. Thank you for coming in this morning. The first thing I want you to know is that all of our hearts are with you. Cannot imagine what you're going through right now, but I know you're here for a very simple reason, to save your son.
Right.
What do you want people to know about him?
To know about Hersh?
Mm-hmm.
Hersh is a curious, voracious reader who's a very laid-back person, loves learning about people and the world, has had wanderlust since he's a little boy, loves going hiking and camping and traveling on his own. He's comfortable by himself. But he's got a lot of friends, and you know, what mother doesn't say? He's great. I love him.
What have you heard about his condition? Anything?
We last saw him on Friday night, October 6th. He was last seen by anybody that we've heard from on Saturday morning, October 7th. He was seen with his arm blown off after being in a bunker with 28 other people, we think. Most of them were killed. The bunker came under heavy gunfire. Grenades were being thrown in. And at 9 a.m., Hamas gunmen came in, took Hersh and two other boys, pulled them out, loaded them onto a pickup truck. It left towards Gaza, and that's the last we know.
Did you hear anything from him when that was going on?
Oh.
Yeah.
At 8:11 in the morning, we had heard bomb sirens in Jerusalem where we live. So around 8. When we got the all clear that we could come out of our bomb shelter that we have in our home, I went to turn on my phone, which I normally don't use on the Jewish Sabbath, but I knew that Hersh and his friend were camping out somewhere, so I needed to make sure they were okay. I turned on my phone at 8:20. 2 WhatsApps popped up that had come in at 8:11, 2 consecutive ones. One said, "I love you," and the other said, "I'm sorry." So I immediately knew something was unfolding that was horrible. And then we subsequently found out that this huge massacre was taking place at this music festival, which ironically was called the Music Festival for Unity and Love. And so we also recently received a video of the actual kidnapping.
That must have been so hard to watch.
Well, John has watched it many times, and he can explain why he gained strength from that. I didn't want to see it, but once it was going out there, I knew I had to see it once so that that it wouldn't come to me in the wrong way. So for me, I mean, what parent wants to see their child more, critically wounded?
You gained strength from it?
In a weird way, I did. No parent should ever be subjected to this sight. That being said, and I now know from witnesses who were in the same bunker, 3 survivors who have each shared the same story of what happened, the massacre that took place there, knowing that he spent an hour to an hour and a half being subjected to this massacre, and that he then gets up with an arm freshly blown off and walks on his own 2 feet under his own strength towards this truck and uses his weak hand, his only hand now, to pull himself onto the truck while bloodied but looking
strong,
sort of
man.
Composed. It gives me a sense of he's got a perseverance and a fortitude that we hope carries him through this.
And ever since that moment, you all have been on a nonstop mission to save Hersh.
It's 18 days ago. And honestly, George, we don't know if 10 minutes after that truck pulled away, if he bled out in the truck. Right? We don't know.
But you
or
hope.
maybe, well, obviously, but maybe he got to Gaza, had hospital treatment, because we've spoken to many surgeons who explained that the surgery he would have needed is not a super complex surgery. Most general surgeons can do it, and as long as he got massive antibiotics, he's healthy. He could be alive, and that's what we're praying and hoping for. But you know, there are moments every day in this new universe that we live in, that you don't live in, that nobody lives in except the families that are going through this, is that many times a day you stop and say, did he die 5 days ago? Did he die this morning? Like, we live in a parallel universe to other people now. And we met at the Israeli president's home 2 nights ago with all these parents who are going through the same thing. And we all felt this comfort of being in the room together with people who were all in the same place.
The only people who can understand.
Right.
I know, as I said, you've been working nonstop. You've been in touch with the Israeli president. You've been in touch with President Biden and his administration. Are you satisfied with the efforts that are being made now to free the hostages?
So we'll be satisfied when the hostages are freed. Until then, it's hard to say we're satisfied. That being said, we feel tremendous support from people around the world. You started the show by saying everybody here has their hearts are with us. We feel that. We get messages all day, every day from people sharing that. And it helps. It carries us. And yes, the U.S. Congress and administration have been fantastic. We hear from them every day.
Outstanding. They proactively call us.
President Biden was on this call that people now know about, and he stayed on the call with 12 families of hostages for 90 minutes. His aides tried to pull him off, and he would not get off. And he listened, and he cried, and he was empathetic, and he's been really supportive.
If Hersh could hear you right now, what do you want him to know from you?
Well, what I say throughout the day, the mantra throughout the day, I say, I love you, be strong, survive. I love you, be strong, survive. I say it all day. And last night when we tried to go to bed here, because we'd been up for 41 hours and taken a flight and then did a bunch of meetings yesterday, and we both took sleeping pills and we got into bed, and those sleeping pills just don't work for us. So an hour and a half later, I was awake, and in bed, I was just saying, stay strong, survive, stay strong, survive. And I actually realized as I was saying it to him, I was also saying it to me.
Of course, yeah. You're going to be at the UN later today. What's your message to the world?
The message is there are hostages from something like 40 countries. This isn't an Israeli-Palestinian issue. It's not an Israeli-Gaza issue. It isn't really an Israeli-Hamas issue. It's a global humanitarian issue. We want not only the leaders of countries of hostages, but leaders of the world to know we should all be screaming ultimately for their release. In the short term, screaming to allow in humanitarian aid at the Red Cross, somebody. This is a global issue, and it needs to be seen that way, and it needs to stay on the agenda, not fall off the agenda.
Thank you for that message. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for your strength. We're thinking of you.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.